Hello and welcome back to another episode of a weekly Waypoint, where today we are playing Halo Infinite's first operation, which I've already forgotten the name of. I personally do not think that the operation idea is particularly great, especially not when the battle pass doesn't really contain anything interesting. It is a free battle pass, so I can't give it too much too much criticism in that way, I suppose, but it is kind of boring. It's also, however, the time when they've decided to inject a bunch of community remade Halo free maps into the playlist, and it's a pretty good time. You know, it's not like I've spent a super long time away from these maps, because I also play the Master Chief Collection fairly often alongside Halo Infinite, but it is nice to be able to see these maps remade in interesting ways. Like, there are a few of them who have been remade with a Banished theme, which is pretty fun, whereas before they might have had like a Forerunner theme. In this video, we ended up playing 2 Capture the Flag matches, and I'm not usually a big fan of Capture the Flag, but I had a pretty fun time, so... Fun fact, by the way, this is the second time I'm recording the commentary for this video, because today we're going to be talking about the Game Awards and the process of writing Game of the Year lists, which I like to do as well every year. And I ended up talking about FOMO for about 8 minutes straight, and it was just Christian vents some anxiety about things which are not very important, and I think, hey, maybe we could be a little bit more entertaining today. By the way, I've been playing a bunch of Destiny 1, which maps melee to right button, so I've been having a little bit of a difficult time getting back into Halo Infinite and forgetting how to melee people and that kind of a thing. Anyway, before we get to talking about the particular nominations of the Game Awards, I want to talk about why the Game Awards matter, because whenever we bring up conversations around the Game Awards, there are a lot of people who, rightfully so, bring up the topic of, well, why does it even matter? These are just these people's opinions. But what I'm starting to realize in life is that sometimes perception of a thing makes it so, even when, I guess, logically speaking, you're always tempted to be like, for instance, with the Game Awards, like, these are literally just the opinions of a board of people. Why does it matter? It matters because it has become an industry-recognized award show. Like, you will see PlayStation and Xbox and Nintendo all tweeting about particular games of theirs which have been nominated for awards. And the reason that matters is because developers and publishers, bonuses aside for things like review scores, which is always a bit shitty, they do look to the Game Awards as like a general temperature of, how good their game is, and in competition with other people, or at least, I'm not a developer or a publisher, but like, you assume that's the case based on the way people talk, right? So even though it is just the opinions of a group of people who you may disagree with, probably will disagree with actually, and I'm going to disagree with as this video goes on, unfortunately those opinions do matter, because as a collective group of people, we have decided that it is a quote-unquote official thing. So while I get the cynical eye roll of why are we even talking about the Game Awards wouldn't matter if nobody talked about them, we are in a reality where the Game Awards are a real thing that people do talk about and discuss and care about, and so we are going to do so. I think the Game Awards is definitely like an attempt to create an industry-wide showcase of this year's games, in a way which celebrates the people who get the awards and the nominations, and is supposed to encourage competition on a healthy basis and uplift developers for doing good work. But unfortunately, I think these days, especially with the temperature of the internet and general discourse, I think it does more of a job of dividing people and making people angry that people have differing opinions. That being said, it's still interesting to break it down. So we won't go through every single category, because I personally don't care about the best esports coach, but we will go through the ones I find interesting, and we'll try and do it in a fairly speedy manner. Also, I'm not necessarily going to give my concrete opinions, because I haven't played all of the games listed in each category, and I also do want to do my own Game of the Year listings later on. But as I will discuss my Game of the Year listings, it's more of a games that I played during the year than the games that get released during that year. Okay, let's do this! The nominees for Game of the Year are Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Now, all year round, I have been wondering what the Game of the Year nominations are going to look like, not just obviously for the Game Awards, but in terms of like how people are going to choose them themselves across their own Game of the Year discussions, because this year has been absolutely resplendent with amazing video games in a way which has just been really fun to see. As for the Game Awards selection of nominations, I disagree. For some personal reasons, but for some objective reasons as well. Starfield should have been on there. I am one of those people who firmly believes that Starfield should have been on there because it's a new IP, and while it does definitely follow some kind of like iteration of Bethesda RPG design, it also fundamentally creates a new universe which is really interesting to explore. It has its own unique game mechanics. It is legitimately a really fun game. People have some issues with it, like the procedural planetary exploration, but I think its successes far outweigh its flaws to a point where it's not just a great game, it's a fantastic game. It should be, in my opinion, a Game of the Year candidate, especially compared with a remake of an existing game, which is a really good remake, but is a remake after all. Something which I'm going to admit out the gate is an uninformed opinion, but Alan Wake 2, I don't see why it's there. I've never played an Alan Wake game, okay? I don't think I've even really played a Remedy game. I really want to play Control. But from what I've seen of Alan Wake 2, from what I've heard about Alan Wake 2, it is a great game and probably deserves to be like a best narrative contender or whatever. But Game of the Year? In another year, maybe, but this year? Again, this is an uninformed opinion, so I'm not going to linger on it for too long. But my gut feeling is I take issue with it being there. I think it is probably not victim. What's the opposite of victim? I think it's a benefactor of recency bias. I think Baldur's Gate 3 should win. I personally did not love Baldur's Gate 3 myself. I had a good time with it for about 10 hours and then I got distracted by something else. I will probably go back to it one day, but even though it didn't like grip me, I could tell it was a fantastic game, and having heard stories about just what it accomplishes as a video game, objectively speaking, I think it deserves to win Game of the Year. I've just talked a lot about how I think Starfield should be in this category. I still think Baldur's Gate 3 should win out over Starfield if it was in the same category. I haven't had the opportunity to play Spider-Man 2, but from what I remember of Spider-Man 1, which I think I called my Game of the Year in the year that I played it, which might have been 2019 or something, I would still put Baldur's Gate 3 above what I can kind of project in my mind to be Spider-Man 2 based on what I've played of Spider-Man 1, which is all of it. Again, no, I haven't played it. If Super Mario Bros. Wonder wins, I will be slightly annoyed, even though I've heard that it is a really important shake-up to the Super Mario Bros. Kind of thing. I agree with it being nominated, but I don't think it should win. And if Breath of the Wild 2 wins, sorry, if Tears of the Kingdom wins, I'll be like, yeah, okay, sure. Next category is Best Game Direction, which is kind of hard to quantify in my opinion. I think Alan Wake 2 probably deserves to be here. I was just talking about it not deserving to be Game of the Year, but I could see it having like a really strong direction to vote for. But like there's Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and Tears of the Kingdom again. It's one of those categories which, when you've got it next to like Game of the Year, it's kind of like, why do both categories exist? I feel like video games aren't necessarily known for their directorial virtues as opposed to cinema, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just me not knowing enough about game development. Actually, you know what? I think Super Mario Bros. Wonder maybe should win this one, because that is something I can point to and say, someone has come in and directed this to be different to its predecessors in a way which has kind of saved that series. Best Narrative, we've got Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, Final Fantasy 16, and Marvel Spider-Man 2. I have not played any of these, and therefore have nothing to say, because I can't even give uninformed opinions about Best Narrative. That's just complete blindness. It is nice to see Final Fantasy 16 showing its face in the Game Awards, though. That is one of the games which I expected to see here. Best Art Direction has Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I don't think the Nintendo titles should necessarily win this one. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is different, but only by a little bit, and Tears of the Kingdom is very much Breath of the Wild in terms of art direction. We've already seen it. I really don't have a strong opinion about this category. I think Lies of P probably has some right to win that. So does Hi-Fi Rush. Gonna skip Best Score in Music, because these are all games that I've not listened to. That being said, Masayoshi Soken deserves all the awards in the world for the work he did in Final Fantasy XIV, so if Final Fantasy XVI wins this category, I will be a happy gamer. The other nominees, though, were Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Hi-Fi Rush, and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. For Best Audio Design, we've got Alan Wake 2, Dead Space, Hi-Fi Rush, Spider-Man 2, and Resident Evil 4. It's nice to see Dead Space show up. I don't really have a strong opinion about audio design, but it would be nice to see Dead Space win it because it's very creepy in a way which audio design is important for. However, it is also a remake, and I'm not sure to which extent it is a reused kind of like direction for that audio design, you know? For best performance, we've got Ben Starr for Final Fantasy XVI, Cameron Monaghan for Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Idris Elba for Cyberpunk 2077, Melanie Liburd for Alan Wake 2, Neil Newborn for Baldur's Gate 3, and Yuri Lowenthal for Marvel Spider-Man 2. I do really enjoy Yuri Lowenthal as Peter Parker in Spider-Man 1, but I've not played Spider-Man 2, so I'm going to say Neil Newborn for Baldur's Gate 3 because Astarion is delightful. Innovation and accessibility, we've got Diablo 4, Forza Motorsport, Hi-Fi Rush, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Mortal Kombat 1 and Street Fighter 6. I have literally no opinion on this one because I do not need to use accessibility features. It is an important award, but I've not looked at the accessibility features or heard anything about them. It's just not a sphere that I exist in, and I would feel weird giving an opinion on it. Games for Impact, we've got A Space for the Unbound, Chants of Sinar, Goodbye Volcano High, Chia, Terranil, and Venba. These are all games I've not even heard of, so again, we're throwing out a no opinion. Best ongoing game, here we go. We got Apex Legends, Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, and Genshin Impact. Best ongoing game is a really weird category because there are so many ongoing games, and I think it's really difficult to quantify who does what best in any particular way. However, I'd be surprised if Fortnite won this year because it had a season that practically nobody liked. And while Fortnite OG is really popular, it's also kind of cheap, if you know what I mean. It's an easy win. Final Fantasy XIV, also the other game that I play on this list, people have been complaining a bit that Endwalker has been a boring patch cycle in terms of Final Fantasy XIV standards. I don't know too much about that because I haven't played the last few patches and I've never played Endgame until Endwalker. I've really enjoyed what I have played of Endgame in Endwalker, so again, I don't really know how valid my opinion is there. I would probably end up voting for 14. But also, I think there are so many games which have done so well this year, like Halo Infinite, World of Warcraft in terms of what it's done for the classic fan base in terms of hardcore WoW, and the upcoming Season of Discovery, although to be fair, that is upcoming, and these are awards for things which have already come out. Cyberpunk has a bit of a weird presence here because the rest are live games with constant updates, and Cyberpunk is just a single-player RPG which needed continuous patches to fix it, so I don't really see why that's the best ongoing game. But then was it this year that everyone came to the game after the anime and found it to be really fun? If it was this year, then maybe it does deserve to be here in a weird way. I'm not sure. Maybe they need a most improved category at this rate. Best community support has Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, which probably should do well for the reason I just mentioned in a previous award. Destiny 2, Final Fantasy XIV, and No Man's Sky. I am surprised to see Destiny 2 on this list, considering that that game is kind of imploding, and the community player base have had massive issues with it, as far as I'm aware, all year round. I can't think of anything that they've necessarily done for the community this year, which would be better than, say, creating an entire game mode like WoW Classic Hardcore, you know? Like, it's really weird and suspicious to me that Destiny 2 is nominated for this category. If you want to hear more about my opinions on Destiny 2, feel free to go watch my Destiny 1 video, which I put out this week. Best independent game, which some people are calling a cop-out of a category. Cocoon, which I have not played. David Diver, which I have not played. Dredge, which I have not played. Sea of Stars, and Viewfinder, which I have not played. I voted for Sea of Stars, but I need to play more of that game. I played some more of it last night, and it is a fantastic turn-based adventure, which I wish we got more of. Like, I wish more games like Sea of Stars continued to come out. It feels like a type of game which people have stopped making, and I very much hope it gets the, people call them boomer shooters, but like the retro shooter treatment of people seeing an indie doing it really well and going, oh, wait, we can still make these games? Best debut indie game, Cocoon, Dredge, Pizza Tower, Venba, and Viewfinder. I have no opinion. Best mobile game, skip. Best VR game, skip. Best action game, Armored Core 6, Dead Island 2, Ghost Runner 2, Hi-Fi Rush, and Remnant 2. I haven't really played any of these games either. I tried Hi-Fi Rush, but it wasn't really for me. It's nice to see Dead Island get recognized because it was like super early this year and people really liked it from what I heard. That being said, I don't know if I ever heard anyone refer to it as like best in genre for this year. It was more like oh, this game's like a 7 out of 10, but but it's a really fun 7 out of 10, so maybe it's kind of weird that it's here, I don't know. Best Action Adventure, Alan Wake 2, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I'm happy to see Star Wars Jedi Survivor here, I guess. I've never played any of these games. I voted for Spider-Man 2 because I like Spider-Man 1. That's a problem with player awards, right? Like, you can never tell if people are voting based on actual logic. Best RPG has Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Lies of P, Sea of Stars, and Starfield. It's nice to see Sea of Stars make its way into a AAA-dominated category, and it's nice to see Starfield actually show up. It's not going to win. Baldur's Gate 3 is probably objectively the best RPG on this list and should win, but part of me really hopes Starfield wins anyway, even though Starfield is arguably iterative on the Bethesda RPG design. The best thing about Starfield is its new universe, not necessarily any gameplay iteration. I don't play fighting games, and I don't care about esports, and I think that pretty much wraps up. Best Family has Party Animals on it. I really like Party Animals. I hope that wins. Best Sim Strategy, I don't play those games. Best Sports Racing. Oh, Best Sports Racing. The racing games on here are Forza Motorsport, Hot Wheels Unleashed 2, and the Crew Motorfest. All fairly middle of the pack games, so I guess it hasn't been a good year for racing games, but I really like Forza Motorsport for my own reasons, so I hope that one wins. Best multiplayer game, Baldur's Gate 3, Diablo 4, Party Animals, Street Fighter 6, or Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I haven't talked about Diablo 4 yet. I hope Diablo 4 wins something, because Diablo 4 should win something. But I don't know if it wins Best Multiplayer. Also, I get grumpy about the Best Adaptation Award, because this is a Game Awards show, not a... Anyway, Last of Us should win that one, even though I only watched half of it. I only watched half of it for my own reasons. It was too depressing. I'm running out of time on this video. Most anticipated game, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hades 2, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Star Wars Outlaws, and Tekken 8. I don't think Star Wars Outlaws should win, but it's my most anticipated game out of all these, because I haven't played the prerequisites of these games, really. I guess I'm really excited that Like a Dragon is continuing as a series, because I really like what I've played of the first one, so I guess maybe that one. Content Creator of the Year? Why isn't Reese on this list? He's the one who makes all my videos worth watching when he's in them. Anyway, we didn't get time to talk about my weird FOMO issues regarding making my own Game of the Year listing. Oh no, what a shame. But basically, my potential ADHD makes it so that I don't get through that far in many video games, so it's actually surprisingly difficult to come up with a list that's objectively friendly in terms of just, I played this game for 2 hours and it's on my Game of the Year list. So I'm going to try and play more of some of the games I started this year before I write it. Anyway, I didn't mean to make this video entirely Game Awards focused, but I did. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know what your opinions are down below. Try not to get too frustrated with mine. I am just some random guy on the internet. We're bound to have differing opinions. Thank you very much for watching this video. Leave a like if you liked it. And I will hopefully see you in the next one if I did not drive you away.